Hello, everyone. This is Moncef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. I'm happy to have you with us, whether on the live call or on replay. And also really excited that Elizabeth Wysen is back on the show. It's been a long time since we had her the last time here, and I have to say, every time she joined us, it was quite a powerful call. Really love her message, the work she offers, and the genuine and loving support that she brings. And I remember the message that she brings every time. It was really describing what we needed, what we were experiencing at that time, and also how can we um, remember our true self, our true power as sovereign beings, and how can we create life from that state of being, which is our true self. And it was always very empowering. So really, really happy to have her back with us today. And for those of you who are new to her, she is an advanced seer, galactic and quantum anthropologist, and also she works on trauma healing and futurism. And the subject today is remembering yourself, the power of soul level remembrance. So so she will be discussing the path of soul remembrance, um, the signs that we are stepping into that, and also the results and how it will be expressing itself and how we will be living and expressing ourselves and our true selves as the infinite being, the cosmic being that we are, which is far beyond what we already know about ourselves. And and also we'll have a Q&A as always. If you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand to ask your question by pressing react or reaction, then raise hand. If you are on the phone, you can press *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And so with that, Elizabeth, welcome back to the show. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Always glad to be with you, especially in the
Wonderful.
healing heart space you offer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so really excited about the subject today. And before that, I would love if you can give us maybe an introduction about yourself and your work for
Oh,
those
my
who
pleasure.
are new to you.
These days I have been doing less farming, so I won't call myself a psychic farmer this time, but um, I keep bringing myself into a new space of healing and doing work as a teacher, and I love doing that so much, helping people learn how to do things like remote viewing, but also doing one-on-one work and really just trying to be present with people where they're at, helping them step by step where they're going. And so I kind of have taken on the idea that I'm a futurist, but I'm here to help human beings become awake, to remember themselves so that we can evolve. And it's very important to me that we have a chance, I think, to be able to step into the next iteration of who we are as a species. And these days, I would also say that I'm focused on teaching natural law and divine order so that people know, okay, so the matrix has disappeared. Now what? Where are we going to do the building of the light? And that's how I would perceive it. But I'm an anthropologist and a mystic and a psychic. So those are my cool skills that I get to enjoy utilizing on behalf of humans and in service to human beings.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for the introduction. And so regarding the subject, and so how do you see the human evolution like right now, um, and also this remembrance? How do you describe it? How can we like experience it in the physical world?
Yes, thank you. So the way I see it right now is we're right on top of the pole shift. And it's a 12,000 year cycle pole shift. So the halfway points, which are the 6,000 year shifts, they're less dramatic. But what we're going through right now is unprecedented because first off, we have far more people here on Earth than we have in all of the last 66 12,000 year cycles combined. So there's something big happening. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many souls incarnate right now. Next is thankfully we're doing our interview right now, but we literally have a spaceship from a who knows where in our solar system, and it's probably one of the most important things that have ever happened to humans. And I'm utterly shocked that it's not over every single television right now and every news station, and it should be. And this is going to force us to have to look at ourselves in the mirror, right? Very carefully. With these kinds of amazing moments where all of our history gets shattered by the presence of clearly, obviously, beings that are far, far more advanced than we are. Likely they're very much human, and that they're revealing themselves very purposefully. We have lots of different kinds of beings here already, but it's often very hidden from us, and this is right in our face. But this is really special because this is a moment where we have to look at ourselves and say, well, who are we exactly? And that's why remembrance kicks in here, because this means that we have a chance to connect to our soul history, and that's going to reveal to us what exactly we are, who we are, where we come from, who these beings are, what our relationship with all of the other types of humans in the galaxy is. And I've been trying to kind of encourage people to think about this anyway for some years. I have taught a galactic history series and an earthly history series that's based on parables. It's very different than a normal history class, but they give people a taste of being able to tap into what's available in their soul's memory. So soul's memory is what I mean when I talk about remembrance. And you are not your body. Your DNA doesn't even have actually that much data to give you, because the DNA here on Earth, it didn't come with that kind of data. We have very unique DNA. It's more original. So there's no galactic history written in our DNA, which is why the stories of Adam and Eve show that they didn't know who the Naga snake being was in front of them. They didn't know that this was an enemy of theirs. They didn't remember. It wasn't in their body's memory. And so our soul's memory can give us this opportunity. So we have multiple things happening right this minute that's forcing us to have to relook at who we are and ask that question again. Who are we? Who are we, and why are we here, and how are we going to be interacting with these new visitors who are certainly not going anywhere anytime soon, because it probably took them a really long time to get here. And that is very powerful. So the remembrance process is part of what I think people can embrace right now. And that process is going to give them data. And it's not going to be this really easy thing. It's remembering your soul's memory can be very, very powerful, tragic, heartbreaking, amazing. It can be very sad too, because it reminds you of things that we don't have here yet, that we have had in the past. But I think soul memory, it shouldn't be something we have to worry about too much. And it's something that's going to happen naturally the more inquiry we do and the more trauma healing we do. So soul memory is going to kick in on its own, and you can trust that it will kick in and bring you data at the exact right moment, instead of you having to sift through a whole bunch of past lives, whether or not they have relevance or not. So it's not as complex, although it's very intense to remember more and more about who you are and your history here in the universe. But it also points to something even bigger. that you are not your body and that you have an infinite history that goes beyond time. You don't have a beginning. You are immortal. You don't have an end. There's no final future. There's no definite beginning in your past either. And that's what all of this ought to be leading us to in the end, is to recognize our infinite nature first and act from there. So that's why I kind of see it as like reverse engineering consciousness. We're reverse engineering ourselves with these moments where we have to point at the finger at ourselves and say, "Whoa, who am I exactly?" Because here's all this stuff in the the solar system right now going on that's asking me to really examine who I am and what I am, because these are evolutionary punctuated moments of change. So totally unprecedented moment at this time of our interview. Very exciting and important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you mentioned and what you described, because when we hear about remembrance, remembering our true self, our infinite self, we feel some kind of excitement. But when we need to deal with letting go of what we, like the image that we built about ourselves, like you mentioned, we were programmed to forget who we are. So when we need to let go of what we thought we were, it can be challenging at some time, because that was our safety zone, and stepping into something that is unknown and unfamiliar can be uh, maybe sometimes very challenging, and we need some grounding. So what will be your advice, especially when we don't understand what's going on and the mind wants to have clarity so it can feel safe? So how can we deal with those moments of facing the unknown?
Yeah, exactly. And Marion's pointing out in the chat, that people are afraid. The establishment, the powers that be, I call it the dark order, they are very afraid of the truth. They don't want you to know because it's maintained a system of power, right? So you are actually acting in a very deeply radical, powerful way when you choose to remember. So what does it take? How do you remember this stuff? What does it feel like? Right? So, all right. First, trauma healing. You can't remember anything unless you make room for all of that consciousness. Your soul's consciousness is immense. It goes beyond the universe. And that requires you to make some space. And so trauma blocks us. And this is really special because we have all worked really hard on our stuff. But one of the things we often miss is that trauma is worth a lot. It's very heavy. It's kind of like gold. You're incredibly wealthy. So you have all of this money stored up in your DNA from your ancestors and their traumas. And these traumas are worth a lot in consciousness, right? They're very valuable in wisdom, but they're valuable in energy. So we can see it as consciousness under pressure. And all consciousness goes under pressure. Trying to escape suffering and trying to find a utopia is impossible. That's not realistic. It's not how anything works in the universe. All consciousness always moves from formlessness. It's this lovely infinite pattern from formlessness into pressure and breakthroughs and then formlessness again. So we need to recognize that that's what the process is. So what you can do to create the breakthroughs is where you're going to focus now for your own benefit and the benefit of everyone around you. And you hand it off. You need to know the emotional energy behind your trauma. You don't need to know the events. So talk therapy, you're trying to figure out what blocked memories are, is not necessary. What's better is if you're handing off this trauma through emotion. So you're nailing it down. What's the emotion? Well, I feel rage. I don't know exactly what happened, but I feel that anger. You don't need to know what exactly happened, but you need to be able to offer this up. And so I like to I use the word objectify as a method. So I take an emotion and I turn it into an object. So maybe I'll have grief or anger come up, and I'll actually imagine it in front of me as perhaps like a spherical ball of metal, or maybe it's a rock, or it could be a bar of gold, whatever you want. And then I hand it off. I pay it forward to source. And I call God source, or source God. So I pay it forward to source God, who I'm in service to because I am a beautiful finger of God's will. I'm one of the facets of God's will. But by doing this, I make a lot of room energetically in my DNA. And this is epigenetic healing. And so you can do big, huge chunks of healing in this way. And every day, as you pay it forward, you're activating what we understand is the wheel of abundance. Because when we're generous with energy, then it creates space for you to receive. That's the secret of real abundance. It's not manifesting, it's being able to make room to receive. You got to get rid of the old couch to get the new couch, right? And that you shouldn't be worried about focusing on exactly what you want. Instead, you should be requesting the miraculous, right? So you're paying all this forward as a gift for humanity. So maybe I have all that rage and I say, Source God, take this rage and turn it into blessings and miracles for all the people who are suffering with great anger right now at the different kinds of problems that we're facing as a species. Right? So there's a huge gift, and undoubtedly there's going to be enormous miracles that occur from that effort. So that's how special and important your suffering really is. It's not just baggage for you to carry around as torture. And then the second step is to request those miracles for yourself too. And so we say, let it be so, that it is my divine right to have the right exact best relationships, to have the best kinds of friends, to have more than enough for me to be able to then also share, for me to be able to experience true success in God's divine will, in perfect divine timing, right? So we work in the divine order, and we're requesting these wonderful things. Now, this is the key here, is you're surrendering it. You're not deciding all the little details about how you want exactly those friends or exactly this particular partner or whatever. You're letting Source actually choose for you on your behalf, because Source knows better and has already created all possible things, right? So Source has already imagined what's available. And people will say, well, what if I'm just imagining stuff? And that's one of the programs we have to drop real quick, because your imaging is pure power and you're tapping into what's available in Source. You're not actually making anything new, you're tapping into what's available. And so this is all about novel experience. The universe favors novel experience, not nice, utopian, peaceful, perfect experience, but novel experience. And consciousness under pressure creates incredible, novel opportunities for you to be creating miracles in your life and others' lives. So here's that first step. And you're simply owning it through emotion. Again, you don't need to go through the past with fine-tooth comb unless you really want to. But that's the deepest and most powerful way for you to heal your energy and open up the dimensions in the body, right? So you have 12 dimensions that the human body has access to. The physical brain actually has 12 dimensions of structure in it. And so your body, your 3D body, is expressing a 12-dimensional relationship already. And when you're cleaning this stuff up through emotion, then you're going to be able to make room into your awareness. You're going to have a more quiet mind. Your mind and your visions, your perception, your images, and your head are incredibly pure and very powerful when you start to be able to dismantle these lenses of trauma that you've been wearing unknowingly. Then you end up being able to speak truth, right? And so when people hear truth, they can feel it deep in their body. And this initiates a sort of chain reaction in the people around you. It initiates change, and it initiates a different relationship with you. So the people who can't handle that higher state, the awakened state in you, they're going to leave, and you're going to have more room for the right kind of people who actually do get this stuff and want to practice with you. And I'm only saying these things because I myself have practiced them and I'm doing it currently. And I have been going through a lot of these recognitions of divine processes and what natural law can actually provide. And I've been living it literally. So I've lost a lot of friends and I ended up in a divorce and all sorts of things, but I have gained far, far better friends and far better relationships out of all of this, mainly on working myself. So all those things fell away because they were no longer aligned with the truth that I was telling. So, it's true. Marion's correct that truth is super powerful and it's actually life changing because it causes things to change around you. Truth is full of light. Furthermore, you will begin to recall exactly how to do certain things. And that's the remembrance that kicks in. And you might not know exactly how you know how to do certain things. I like to give an example that was recent where my boyfriend gave me his bow and arrow because he's been practicing archery. And I had never shot a bow and arrow before. And he hands it to me and I knock it and I end up immediately getting a very difficult bullseye shot with this bow and arrow. And he's like, well, you've obviously shot this before. And I'm like, not in this lifetime. And he's like, do you want to do it again? I'm like, no, I'm pretty confident that I can do it if I need to. Because I was just given this thing for the first time and I knew how to shoot it. I already knew. Elizabeth didn't know. My soul knew. And that's kind of a fun example. And sometimes there's other things around culture or different kinds of events or relationships or conversations that this kind of knowledge comes through that is beyond your personal body self. And so you, as an awakened being who's remembering, you begin to really stop identifying with your body and you begin to have a different relationship with your body. That's the first sign that you're really in a state of remembrance, is that you have a very objective sort of witness relationship with your body. And so I talk to my body as a separate being. I find my body miraculous, this incredible machine, really, an organic, incredible creation that I'm loving every day a little more because she's not me, but she really needs me. She needs my love and she needs that purity of my remembrance to be able to survive. So right now, a lot of the time, remembrance kicks in when you're in survival mode, and that's what's happening to human beings. We're under a lot of pressure at the moment. But that's the exact formula, and how it feels is that you no longer see yourself as, say, the body named Elizabeth anymore. You begin to perceive yourself as something different, something that comes from beyond, and it leads you to a timeless state. It leads you to formlessness. It leads you to the void. It leads you to sort of the ego death that is required of you to be awake. And awakening, what is awakening? Awakening means that you have been there, that you have died the ego's death and you have separated from your ego and your body and you've taken the leap to the void and you've died while you're alive. And so that you actually have seen God. That's what being awake means. You've seen the light from the origin of all things, the endless light that has no time, has no space, it has no movement, it's perfectly still. That's the source of all things. And when you see that, you don't unsee it. You see that light everywhere and it becomes permanent. It's a permanent state. And yeah, you're going to do totally unawake things for sure because you're also a human. So you get to do both. You get to be immortal and enjoy being human and make mistakes and have successes and have desires and fears and all these things. But they become all precious and you see the light in all things. And so that's where it's leading. That's what remembrance leads you to. It's continuing to point you in the direction of going outside of time and connecting to God directly so that you can bring back that awareness. And that's what being awake means. So it's a step-by-step journey, not easy to do, but if you keep it up and you keep offering your suffering up, you get a lot done in consciousness. It's an incredible act of generosity to do so. And there's so much beauty and wondrous things and miracles that will happen in your life that really will blow your mind, because you're synced up. So you're synchronized with the universe then, and you see all the patterns and all the breadcrumbs leading you to the most amazing experiences. And I can speak to that personally. So I think it's very key to play with this idea, but also to hear it from somebody who's doing it. It's not that I'm finished doing it, but I'm doing it, and it's true and it works. So I think that's very special information.
Yeah, beautiful. And I really love what you mentioned, because it is very empowering, and because like we've been programmed to feel less than, to not feel worthy. But when we remember our true powers, true abilities, and multidimensional ones, not just the ones we learned in this lifetime, it's really empowering, and we start seeing ourselves differently. And also, I want to get back to something you mentioned earlier about being in service to others, being as a vessel to alleviate suffering from the collective. And my question is how to know when it's time to do that, to be in service for the collective healing, and also when it's time to maybe let others do their own work as well, because especially
That's a great
in this
question.
time we are picking up on a lot of energies. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I love that question. How do you know when it's time to be of service, and how do you know when to let it go so that people can do their own work? So that kind of alludes to an imbalance, right? And as a counselor, and many of you are too, or who have done some kind of counseling, even if it's just of your friends or family, there's a burden that comes along with that. And so it's very important as people, how do you know when to be in service? Well, you can't break the prime directive, right? Prime directive still applies. So you're not going to go seek out different kinds of issues. You're going to allow things to unfold in your awareness. So, like when I was a kid, my mom and dad, they taught me how to be very charitable. And we worked at soup kitchens, and I worked with the homeless, and I worked with this disabled young people and adults. And I continued all the way through 10 years of university. I was tutoring disabled adults and all sorts of stuff like that, working with veterans. And so I didn't necessarily, however, have to go seek it out. It was available, it was already there in my field, right? So, like, for example, I was taking my daughters walking around Cuenca here in Ecuador. It's a very lovely city, very old city. And there was a mother who was very ill, and so were her children, and I could see that. And she was begging for money. Kind of like most of the time, Ecuadorians don't really beg. They'll try to sell whatever they've got. They'd be selling like pieces of candy. They'll sell fruit that was growing in their yard. They don't really want to beg. They're very, they have a lot of dignity. And I could see this lady was suffering a lot. So I told my daughter, I gave this lady a little bit extra money than I normally would give her. I was like $10 or something instead of $1. And she was very surprised. And I was happy to just give her what I could. And I told my daughters, I said, always, always pay attention. Watch what's in your field. If you're in town and you see someone who is poor and they need help, especially the elderly or the disabled or the sick, then you give them whatever you can. You give them food, you give them money. And I said, but you make sure to pay attention. So there is ample opportunities for service all the time. You're just needing to switch your mindset so you can be aware. And why do you want to be in service? Because it gives you a huge leg up in consciousness. It gives you an opportunity to be able to affect change that's a positive feedback, because you have no idea how those little things actually count. Here's a quick example. One time I was in a grocery store in Kentucky. In Kentucky, there's a lot of people who are very sick, and unfortunately, it's a very sick state. So there's a lot of diabetes and cancer and obesity. And there was a woman in front of me, and she was buying a bunch of bad food. And the lady who was checking her out was judging her very harshly, and everyone could feel it. It's all unsaid, right? And I could feel my heart being compelled. Like, and that it feels like you're literally being pulled to do something or to go a certain direction. Most of us have felt that. And I was being pulled to give this lady a compliment. And so I said to her, you know what? That blue shirt really looks good on you. That's all I said. And then it kind of neutralized the whole situation. And I go and I'm sitting in the car waiting for my husband at the time to come back. And an angel shows up in front of me. And angels, if you've gotten to know angels, they can sort of surprise you real quick. They just appear. And so this big angel appears, and I'm like, hello, who are you? And the angel says, well, that lady that you talked to in the store, I'm her angel. I'm like, wow, why are you talking to me? And he said, I want you to know that she was going to kill herself. And you changed that. One compliment about her shirt was all it took. That's how powerful service is. You can literally save lives with little stuff. It doesn't even have to be much. You don't have to do what I did and serve in soup kitchens, but you can, and you're going to change more lives. But those little things, they count. And later, when you decide to be finished with this body and you go review your life, you're going to get to see all the amazing things that you accomplished with all of your generous service, right? So service is one of the keys to being awake. You have to have compassion. Being awake shows you how to have compassion for sure, but service will get you to your awakened state faster so that you see God in all things. Even the things that we consider evil and bad, you will see God in all things. That is how the universe works. How do you know when not to act? Well, sometimes people do need they're requiring your awareness, but it's not necessarily going to be you fixing the problems for them, because you can't break the prime directive, right? Giving someone a compliment's a bit different than, say, like some of the things that I've tried to do in the past, which were out of ego. Well, I've done like public exorcisms, stuff you shouldn't do in public. And recently I was on the coast and there was a young man in front of me, and I could see that he had an entity attached to him. And his eye was all swelled up and his belly was all swelled up. And this entity was speaking through him, and it was creating an action where he was craving sugar constantly. And he actually said that to me. And I wanted so much to be like, look, kid, I can help you. Like, I can get rid of this entity out of your field. You've got this attachment somehow, and let's like help you out. So I said it to my boyfriend, and he says, Elizabeth, no, it's prime directive. You can't help him unless he asks. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I shouldn't be going. It would be out of my ego knowing that I could help him. It would be out of my ego to do so, instead of sort of, I could have like left some clues and perhaps he would have asked for support. But instead, what was being asked of me was to check my ego and to just bless this kid. And blessings can do miracles too, but he had a lesson to learn, right? So you don't want anybody to remove stuff from you. You don't want anybody to come in and take stuff out of your field or solve problems instantly, because those problems and those entities and those objects are going to come back, and they're going to come back even worse because you didn't get to the bottom of why they came there in the first place. So it's very important in service that we consider that. Has this person fully addressed the root cause of why this relationship happened or why this entity showed up? Because you could remove the entity, like I've done a mazillion times, and stuff just is going to come back full force, even worse, perhaps, because we didn't address how it got there in the first place. So, human beings, we attract and create a lot of really powerful lessons. And it's really important that people get to the bottom of these things without being aided along so that they can actually learn the lesson that they drew in the first place. And it's showing them something about their shadow, about their subconscious that they need to address. So people might come to me and actually ask for exorcisms or ask for stuff, but I say, I won't do it until we get to the very bottom of this, exactly why this happened. And then you have to take responsibility and own it and heal it. And then I've taught them how to fish, right? So sometimes we can't act because of prime directive. Sometimes we shouldn't because we actually need to help that person figure out their lesson or they need to figure it out. And then the other way that you might find yourself as a practitioner needing to step away from service is when people get addicted to the service. Sometimes people get addicted to healings. They get addicted to psychic readings. They get addicted to the work being done for them in the field or whatever, through shamanic ceremony or through different kinds of support. They get addicted to all of that because it makes them feel special. And perhaps they didn't have that kind of nurturing or love in the past. So you got to help your clients too, sometimes by telling them, look, you're not doing the work. You're not going home and doing the things I asked you to do. And this goes for anybody who's in practice doing healing of any kind or any kind of service. If someone's coming and they're refusing to actually do the things you've asked them to do, and they just want you to, do your magic for them, then you're dealing with someone who is actually going to drag you down, and it's going to take up a lot of time, and you're not actually creating more change in the field. So that's how I see it. I'm sure there's so many other ways to look at it, but that's from my experience how service works. You're going to feel compelled. You ought to notice it. If it shows up in your field, there's something there. The least you can do is say nice things and give blessings. And that's incredibly powerful. And that's enough. Again, you don't have to be necessarily going out and serving the poor or the animals or the earth physically if you can't. Blessing people that you see along the way every day is perfectly amazing service. So don't minimize any of the little things either, because they can save lives. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it does. It's really helpful, and yeah, I feel it's very important to discern between them because, like you mentioned, sometimes uh, like intervening can maybe slow down the awakening of someone, but because we have
Exactly.
that tendency to, it's like we feel like a savior. We want to save others, but we are not like serving them when we do that. We help when we feel guided to, when we can, and also we give space to others to go through their own lessons. So yeah, thank you very much, Elizabeth. And can we take questions from the audience?
Yes, please. I see Sue wanting
Yeah.
to talk. That'd
And
be great.
just a reminder, so everyone, if you want to ask your question, you can raise your hand by pressing react, then or react or reaction on Zoom, then raise hand. If you are on the phone, you can press *9, and also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom or on YouTube. So, Sue, can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, Sue.
I'm honest. Hello, my name is Sue. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Okay. I know I'm in the healing process right now. And I know I've come from different star beings and stuff like that. But my main issue right now is the lesson I'm supposed to be kind of learning, and I'm still kind of stuck at it. I'm like the giver, giver, giver. Now I was told you got to be a receiver. I receive, but yet I hold back on it. I kind of like argue the point. And yet I don't know why I keep doing this. I'm like 80% there with my lesson. And they said, once you learn your full lesson, like the angels come and tell me, I see them all the time. I'm connected with spirit all the time. And they said, certain people will help you understand. I've had different people tell me, look, just learn to receive, accept it, and move on. But yet for me, it's like receiving help. I have an eyesight challenge right now, and I know right now I'm my own worst enemy in a way. So I do receive the help. I'm grateful with gratitude. I send them blessings. But yet I kind of get frustrated with myself. Like, they didn't let me be. They don't understand I'm trying to be independent, and they're stopping me. So I'm kind of like not receiving, in a way, the help. But how do I work through this?
Yeah, I got you. There's a technique.
Or to learn my lesson to get actually my body healed.
Yes, for sure. So it's a technique. First off, what's going on is that you keep identifying with the body, right? Which not identifying with the body is very hard to do. So
right.
So don't beat yourself up about that. That's actually something that very few people have ever really heard. Actually, like, you can say like, well, I am not this body, but to actually do it, to actually be that way, is a totally different, right? And
right.
the key here is that you're identifying with the body. So the body and the egoic structure, which is your attachments to certain outcomes, right? So be very, very clear on this. Attachments to certain outcomes, your expectations about things, your judgments, especially about yourself, and perhaps the judgments that you have about the reasons why people do things. And then the resistance that shows up, so it's very subtle, it's in the body. That's what we call egoic structure. It's those 4 specific things. And then the body and the egoic structure, which are ruled by the mind, right? The mind is this voice in your head that's doing this arguing, and they are driving your car. So where the heck is your soul? Your soul's in the back with its head out the window, and ears blowing in the wind. So you gotta
picture that, right? It's like the other part of me is like, hey, whatever.
yeah. And so we gotta switch it up a bit. And here's how you get it so that the soul's driving the car. Because the ego and the mind and the body, they don't know what to do. They're taking all the wrong left turns. They're going round and around and around in Dodge, and they can't get out of Dodge. So the key is to first recognize that that's what's happening. Recognize that your soul's not driving the car. Because if it did, you would hear very different voice in your head. And the second one is to bow to the voice, because the ego and the body and the mind are just trying to help you. They're trying to figure out how to do this, and they don't know what's true. So they're arguing about it. They're arguing with you. They're arguing with all the people in service. And they don't know what to do. And they don't know what they don't know. Right. So our egos, bodies, and our minds are very ignorant. And ignorance just doesn't know it's ignorant. So we bow to them and we say, thank you. Every single time, Sue. I don't, at first it might be 20,000 times a day, and then it'll be 19,000 times a day, and then it'll be a little less and a little less. But every single time you have these thoughts come up in your mind throughout your day, especially when you're in receiving, I want you to track your thoughts. You have to be a mystic now and stalk your thoughts. So in mysticism, stalking is not a bad word. We're hunters of consciousness. And so you're stalking your thoughts and you say, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for trying to help me right now. But I'm the soul in charge. And that's not how my soul's going to talk. my soul would never say those things. My soul would be wonderfully happy with all of this amazing service, so fascinated that there's eye troubles going on. What an interesting novel problem for my soul to figure out. How amazing that my body is going through all of this, and knowing that my soul also knows how to heal it. That my body can heal because my soul perceives it to be so. It's my divine right to be healed. Right. And it's my divine right
Right.
to learn to be in service. And so instead you say thank you. Gratitude shuts these parts of your mind off. And eventually they go silent. The soul comes in and you say, well, what would my soul say? What would my soul do? And you begin to take that approach. So it's a big mindset shift in that literally you're cleaning up the mind, which is sort of like the driver's seat. And you're saying, whoa, 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 whoa. You thank you for trying to help me, but you just don't know what you don't know. So go sit aside. What does my soul have to say? My soul's in charge. And you get your soul to come in and you keep asking yourself, what would my soul really say? And you get really, really curious about what your soul would actually be saying and doing. So then you're going to end this war in your mind. And you're quite right. You're right on the verge of this big breakthrough, but it's the mindset, literally mind shift. You're under mind control where your mind thinks it's in control.
Okay,
You're
I
not
see what
being
you're
mind
saying.
controlled by other people, right? But you're being controlled by your mind, and she doesn't know. She doesn't know what she doesn't know. The soul knows.
Right.
Soul knows because she's infinite. And then you're going to see a lot of things change in your life if you continue to do that. So try that method.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, it's like today I was told, I did another program, well, like about angels and stuff. Well, all of a sudden, one of the angels said, "You will get a message tonight, and listen. We are talking, giving that person, they will tell you what you need to know." And it's funny, I'm sitting here going, my soul's going, finally. She's getting the picture.
And the angels know, and they've got your back.
That's right. Yeah.
Keep
And I
working them
see,
around. Angels can't do anything. They follow Prime Directive too. But if you tell them what to do, they will do it.
right. And it was funny, and they said, "You will get a message tonight. You don't need to get it from it. You will get it from the person we want you to get it from." And I'm going, okay, be open to receive.
Exactly.
And I went, right. So I actually was open to receiving, and it felt so good.
It is. It feels so good, doesn't it? Because it's your divine
It's like
right.
when it does help me, instead of I should just allow it and say, well, thank you. I'm great that you did that for me, and be happy about it. I think that's what my soul would want, not what are you grumpy about or what are you arguing about.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's funny when you're talking to me, my soul's like, finally. Like I could just feel like this nudge where it's just like somebody flipped the switch.
Exactly.
And thank you for that.
Being seen. You're being seen for who you are. You're not the body named Sue. I see your soul, and your soul's so excited.
My husband made a comment to me tonight, which was really kind of unique. And we were talking about different things, and he said about, I have like insecurity. He goes, "You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You are great the way you are." And I looked at him and I said, "Geez, thanks. That's nice to know." And now I understand, because you kind of reinforced that said, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. Be who you are.
That's right. And you are not Sue.
No, I've been changing a lot. And I really thank you for that. You've given me valuable information. And I'm really on the road now to healing with my eyes.
Fantastic.
And I know they're going to get better and better as long as I release all this garbage.
Absolutely. Your eyes can heal.
I know, and now you're the second one who has told me that. They said, right now, you are your own worst enemy, stopping yourself from seeing.
That's true.
And you kind of, in an indirect way, basically saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, okay. In other words, listen up. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Sue. Very nice.
Thank you. Blessings to you, and thank you for all your help tonight. It was a true miracle.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you, Moncef, and blessings and all my love to you. And thank you taking my call and really getting a beautiful healing tonight. Thank you very much.
Oh, how
Thank
nice.
You, Sue. That's
Moncef, I want to answer Linda's question. She says, what is the prime directive? So prime directive, you probably heard this from like Star Trek. Basically, you can't interfere, right? So angels, for example, follow prime directive. They can't do anything for humans unless we ask. So they are standing around a lot of, there's armies and armies of these angels at our fingertips, and they're just waiting. They're waiting for us to actually ask them to do stuff. So they, now sometimes they'll come and like save you or help you. They've saved my life so many times. And it's not like in the moment, right as I'm being, nearly killed or something that I know to ask or anything, but it's because previously my family had actually consecrated me to the Divine Mother Mary, and she's the Queen of the Angels. So a lot of the times angels will act because you've been blessed by other family members or prayed for. And so that's a kind of an ask for the angelic to support you and heal you and keep you safe. But human beings, we are meant to, as people who work in the light, we are meant to also wait and allow Source God to show us in our awareness when action needs to be taken or when words need to be said. And the other powerful way you can offer more light into the world is by being very clear on what your images are in your mind, because everything you imagine becomes real. And there's power behind that reality. So we have to have pure thoughts, pure words, pure deeds. And Prime Directive can help you do that. So you're not, like me, you're not going around, doing readings and exorcisms in restaurants and bars and things because you want to feel special and powerful. You're waiting for people to come to you. And so I learned my lesson the hard way with bad karma. But you don't have to. So that's the Prime Directive.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And thank you, Linda, for your question. And Lara, can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, Lara. Always nice to see you.
Hi, Elizabeth. Always so good to see you, too. I want to come live in your pocket, like I just learned so much.
My pocket friend.
Yes. So what you said about exorcism and having an entity on you, when I first got sober in 2007, I was seeing an acupuncturist who's also a medium, and she was like, I'm going to do something that I would never normally do. She's like, I'm going to do an exorcism on you. And I was like, all right. And I felt whatever it was come out of my body. And I'm assuming I picked it up from, being in dark energies of alcohol and drugs and
for sure.
And using a Ouija board as a kid, stuff like that,
Oh, sure.
But now what you said makes me wonder, because I still feel stuck. Like I'm stuck in anger, I'm stuck in fear, and I'm wondering now if the entity has come back, and if so, like what lesson is it that I'm not learning that I need to learn?
I got you covered. So there's an easy way to do this. Okay. And it's all about emotion, because I grew up, and you've heard my story quite a bit, I'm sure, but I grew up as about as fundamentalist Byzantine Eastern Rite Catholic as you can be. And my parents are still super fundamentalist. And I'm the oldest of 7 children. So I grew up incredibly religious. And I was told that we were in a spiritual war and we had to be spiritual warriors. And so I was brought up to be a warrior. And I was literally at war. I felt like that was my calling, was to be at war all the time. And I was dealing with the demonic from a very young age, which now I see that my parents had brought all this stuff in. And, you know, they didn't know. Again, we don't know what we don't know. But I was at war and I turned it into a thing. Like I had armies at my back and I felt very badass and chopping off heads. And then I realized at one point I had some pretty big wake up calls. First off, with my giant ego and recognizing that, you know, I could be deceived too, and certainly was. And that it was very, and that's really painful when you think you know, when you think you know evil, right? And they one way or another find a way to wiggle their way into your life. And the other thing that I realized was that what it looked like, what seemed like me exorcising all these demons and destroying demonic entities and going to war with them was all fake. It wasn't real at all. I wasn't killing anybody. It was a big, huge play for my big ego. And I started to really question what I was doing. And I had to dig in and I said, all right, well, what are these things anyway? So this is way before I was really working beyond into deeper dimensions. And I went and I sat in the seventh dimension, which is the angelic demonic realm. And I said, all right, I want to know the whole deal here. Like, what is this really? And who am I serving? If I'm not really killing demons, then what am I doing? And why did I end up led into this position? Right. And meanwhile, I'm being attacked by demons all the time. And they're saying all kinds of horrible things in my head. Right. Anger comes up for you. For me, it was grief and self-hatred and like really awful suicidal stuff. It was brutal. And I was suffering a lot and had been suffering my whole life up till that point. So I said, all right, I want to know, what is this really? And what I saw was so beautiful. What I saw was that all of the demons and all of the angels, they're all the same species, but they all work with frequency. And you can't kill a frequency. You can't kill anger. You can't kill fear. Those things exist and they have a place in the universe, right? And that's why they exist, is because they're actually really important. They don't need to rule you. But when I realized, like, oh, I'm not actually killing anything, then how do I help all these people? How do I help them be free from all this oppression and this possession that was going on? Well, it dawned on me that the only time demonic entities show up is when there's something there for them, because they're seeking out, just like we are seeking out the infinite true self and true nature of ourselves. We're seeking out ourselves. They're seeking out their own energies too. So you are not the frequency of anger. That's not who your soul is. But there is a being out there who is the frequency of anger, and he wants his, right? He wants his, she wants hers. And so all demons are, and we should be so grateful. What a wild statement. All demons are ants. They're cockroaches. They're showing you the trash that you couldn't see. They're showing you the breadcrumbs in your subconscious, right? And that's why it literally feels like you've got something attached to you, pushing buttons, getting you to react, right? I still suffer with this sometimes because I've been going through healing some serious trauma currently. And so I'll find myself in these repetitive loops where I'm reliving these horrible traumas, and I'm like, oh, I'm being oppressed right now because it's eliciting a certain emotion, and there's an entity who eats it. Now, they're not bad. They're not evil. Demons are not what they seem. They're showing you that you have these openings. So yeah, you're being oppressed. So am I. We are often oppressed because these entities will because it exists, because it's in the subconscious, they just want to eat it. So you're just a big bubblegum machine, beep, 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 and they just have at it. And there could be all sorts of different kinds of levels of this. And I've dealt with things that are so immense and way beyond my ability to deal with. Like I've dealt with very enormous demonic entities who are really out of this world. And even then, it's not that I need to destroy them. As much as it seems like they want to destroy me, they're just trying to elicit a reaction from me so that they can consume it. So, us as humans, we do all sorts of stuff. We literally bury asparagus so that it'll turn white. Like we do weird stuff like that too. And the poor asparagus thinks it's being oppressed. But that's not really, demons don't think of you like that. They don't want to hurt you. Otherwise, then you're not very useful, are you? Because you can't put out all the emotional energy they want. So I changed my viewpoint on the demonic. So yes, all of us probably have had all this kind of oppression all the time, probably even today. And you're gonna have to stock your thoughts, stock your emotions. So be super hyper aware. This is the fix. Be hyper aware of the emotion that's being elicited by these what seems like random thoughts or reliving stuff, right? Or reactions. And track those emotions, because if they seem to like get more extreme or if they keep repeating themselves, then you've got beings who are just using you as a candy machine, right? And how do you fix it? You get to the bottom of that emotion and you say, all right, well, which part of me is actually having that emotion? Because it's part of your personality. It's a frozen version of you from the past. And so you start to do that very special skill where you go in and you say, how old is this version of me? What are they wearing? Hey, little me, younger me. I don't care if it was, last week. They're still younger than you. Younger me. Can you talk to me? What do you need? And then you meet their needs. Because the only reason why stuff gets trapped in the subconscious, that kind of stuff, it's usually very intense emotional stuff. We might not even remember the exact event. Usually we don't do that very well. But we remember the emotion, and that emotion is what you're tracking, because that version of you has not got those needs met. So once the needs are met, then the thoughts go away. So you take that part of you and you go meet their needs. You use your imagination. You take them to go meet their needs. At one point, I had a little bit of a traumatic birth with my daughter. It could have been worse, but there was some trauma there. And I woke up feeling this sense of helplessness. And I'm like, ooh, where's this coming from? So I go in and I'm like, well, how old am I? And I'm like, well, I know exactly. It's me giving birth to my daughter. And I said, all right, hey, younger me, what do you need? And she's like, I need all these things. I need a better birth situation. This sucks. And I said, all right, let's go do it. And we relived the birth experience, but with completely different scenario, all different smells and different people, different situation, the most beautiful, perfect birth situation that you could ever want, right? And I relived it with great detail, with smells and temperature and taste, touch, all of it. Great detail. And I left that version of me there in that new place, in that new memory. And her needs were met. And I have not once had that part of me continue to ask to be healed or have any kind of emotions of helplessness from that situation arise ever again. So we can meet our own needs, and then you're going to be fixed. So here's a good example. One time I was flying from the United States, and I was in Quito in northern Ecuador in a hotel, and there was an entity and I could feel it, and it was a very powerful one, and it was kind of stalking me. and I could feel it. And so what it did was kind of tricky, because it gave my husband a really bad dream, and it made him get up, and he's like, this sucks. And he goes and takes a shower. So I'm all alone with this big demon at the end of my bed. And suddenly he appears, and I'm like, oh, there you are. And I'm like, what are you here for? What do you want? And it was chasing sexual shame. And I'm like, oh. And in that very moment, I accepted my sexual shame so fully, so totally, all the wisdom of it, and just let it have its place in the universe, right? It doesn't have to be inside of me, but it exists. And I honored it so fully in such an instant that as this demonic entity tries to sort of chase it through me and come in, just trying to come into my body to consume it. And who knows what would have happened if I didn't know what to do. But it was, if you've ever seen a raccoon wash its food, and there's these really funny videos of raccoons, and they give them cotton candy. And when you have cotton candy and you put it in water, it just disappears, right? It dissolves. And the raccoon is like so confused, and it's like wondering where the food went. And that's exactly what this demonic entity looked like. It looked like a raccoon who just, its food just disappeared, because I processed it so fast, and it just left as fast as it could. And I was like, wow, that was real quick. But that's how fast it can be. So track this stuff, especially when you have repetitive things going on in your head. You're being used as a candy machine. And it's your divine right to be sovereign. And you are not anger. You are not grief. You are not sexual shame. You are not the guilt that you've had from the addictions that you've faced. You are none of those things. And so you accept their place, as we ought to accept the place that entities that match up with these frequencies that we don't like, but that's who they are, and they have a place in the universe. They belong here, otherwise they wouldn't exist. So that's how we do it, right? Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. And interesting that you said sexual shame as well, because I have that as well. So
yeah, and they're just eating it. You're like this great vending machine, and they don't have to pay. All they have to do is push buttons. But if you can know, well, where did this come from, or whatever, and you reparent yourself, you heal yourself by meeting the needs that have not been met through the imagination. You might not be able to go redo the whole birth or redo that situation, but you can meet their needs. You can take them out of the situation. You don't need to know exactly what happened. You can take them out, right? You can take them out of that situation and heal them. And then they will stop. The entities begin to stop harassing you.
is it, one quick question, I know that people have their hands up. Is it, so if I take my small child and I put her in my safe space, is that okay to do? Because I've done that several times when she feels scared, when I'm doing EMDR and therapy, I'll just take her out and be like, here, go to my safe space with the blue skies and the swings and the birds and the cats. But then I wonder if
you can take them to a refuge. I like to go through details. I'll remake an entire situation. I'll literally give my child version of me over to the Divine Mother and Divine Father, or the enlightened version of my parents. I will recreate an entire different scenario, a whole different household. I can do anything. I've had people take their child selves all, to the Pleiades, and let them have a Pleiadian father from the past, or whatever works. Whatever meets the need, and whatever collapses the polarity is what you're doing by doing that. And then you don't end up having stuff chase you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time to answer my question. And thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's kind of an odd way of thinking, but when you get past the seventh dimension, you begin to appreciate these really difficult energies, and you can appreciate the demonic for the first time, and seeing, oh, they're literally showing me what I need to know right now. They're showing me the next step to me being more and more awake and capable and claiming my spiritual power. So I have no hatred or anger to the demonic at all. None at all. It can be a very special relationship. It's an odd one, but you know, and obviously we'd rather hang out with angels.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Lara, for your question, and also thank you, Elizabeth, for the guidance. And
My
yeah, I love
pleasure.
that you I love that you mentioned that like seeing everything as a frequency, because many times when we're trying to healing, we think that we are removing uh, what we are trying to let go, but it's just a frequency that we allow to move into a different space. So yeah, thank you for that, and we will take more questions in a little bit. Just
Oh
before
yeah,
that, I would
sure.
love,
We have
I would,
2 raised hands and we have one on
and
the
yeah,
chat
just
too. Can I answer Carrie's question on the chat real quick?
uh, yeah,
Carrie
yeah,
says,
let's do
what
that.
advice would you offer with getting distracted from outside elements when trying to focus on staying on the path? Well, first off, give up the path. There is no path. You have no beginning. You have no end. Secondly, you're gonna have to go sit yourself in the 11th dimension, right? You have all of us have access to these things. You don't have to do one dimension at a time. But the 11th dimension is the seat of perfection. And that means that you need to be aware of perfect stillness. You must be able to connect to the perfect stillness, the clear light, that which does not move. It's from which all things arise. And it's the Tao, it's God, it's source. You have to connect to it. Everything else is phenomena, and it's fascinating phenomena. But when we get distracted, it's because we actually are not feeling the stillness within ourselves. And that stillness gives you the focus you want. So meditation is key in this. And I don't care what kind of meditation it is, but you're seeking to connect with that stillness, connect to God directly. Then when you can do that, the rest of everything else is amazing, novel, fascinating phenomena, everything. And it goes through its very clear cycles, and it has laws that it works in. There's physics to consciousness. But the only way you'll ever have really good focus is to do practicing stillness, connecting with God through prayer or meditation. That's the key. And it's something that so many people have other people have said too, and I'm gonna reiterate that truth.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Carrie. Shirota, thank you. And can we take maybe a couple of minutes to talk about the program you are
Yeah,
offering?
let's do it.
Because yeah, so I invite everyone to visit the page yourdivineuniqueness.com/Elizabeth, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Elizabeth, ELIZABETH. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description and the chat boxes. I will put it on the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. So so we have like 3-part series, which include one live class, which will happen on October 17, and also other classes that can be accessed instantly. So yeah, Elizabeth, I would love if you can tell us about this program.
Oh, my pleasure. So I tried to put something together that would be very appealing to people who want to remember more. And the first series is a 3-part series. Is the first one's healing the children. So I talk about the children currently. It's a very powerful class, and it's been really interesting trying to teach these particular classes on healing the children, healing the masculine, and healing the feminine. Because every time I try to teach, I get a lot of pushback because the the powers that be do not want this data out there. But it's really key that we have the tools that we need to gently help heal the children around us. And then the next one is healing the masculine, which we just did recently. It was very powerful. but it's all about gentleness, how to gently help the men around us heal and the masculine within us heal. And then the third part's coming up very soon, and it's healing the feminine. And it's really key that we understand how to gently also heal the women. So there's tools for everyone, whether you're a woman or a man or have children or not. All of these particular classes are packed full of incredibly important tools, very specifically oriented to help children, men, and women. And I think that they'll help you too, for sure. Then there's another instant access class. It's called Soul Skill Sets that I just love. It's a little bit of an older class, but if you want to talk about remembrance, how do you know what kind of skills your soul has? Well, this class is going to teach you how to do that. It's how to understand your skills. So like, for example, I've been psychic in all my lifetimes. I don't have one lifetime where I'm not psychic. So that tells me that that's a skill my soul has, and it's pointing to the nature of my soul that has to do with perception and light. So you all have wonderful soul skill sets that you probably haven't fully tapped into. And I talk about all of them and how to basically move them up into, from beginner to more advanced. What are the advanced versions of those skills? For example, I'm not just a psychic and I'm not just a seer. I'm an oracle. It's a specific kind of advanced psychic. How do I know that I've done that? What does that feel like? How do you achieve something like that? So I walk you through quite a lot of very powerful common soul skill sets that we all have. The other class that I really wanted you both, all of you, to have is a two-part. So both parts are really important. And this is called Dissolving Cultural Conditioning. So as an anthropologist, we were trained in very specific methodologies that are very unusual, and most people don't ever even think about the kind of stuff we were thinking about. Because anthropology is very unique. It's a science of studying yourself. It's not psychology, but it's the science of studying the species of the Homo sapien while you're still a Homo sapien. So it's a very unique perspective. And one of the things that we learned was how to dissolve the conditioning of our cultures and be able to dismantle some of this negative stuff we've picked up about ourselves, for example. Like, here's an odd one, but I'm not wearing any makeup right now. And, normally my cultural conditioning would be like, how in the world and why would you do that? Don't get on camera without makeup. Right? But that's just cultural conditioning. Nobody even probably noticed or cares. And that's my point. We suffer a lot with the distortions of our conditioning. And I teach you really deeply, very powerful tools on how to dismantle this stuff. That's why it's a two-part class, because it's very active. The next series I wanted you to have is probably one of my favorite series I've ever taught. And it's called The Spheres of Influence and Wisdom. And the way I see it is that there's many spheres to our awareness. There's the personal bubble that you have for your embodiment. There's the outer layers, especially the empaths know how that feels because they're feeling everything around them. Then you have your awareness field, and you can make that much larger than it is. You have your universal and cosmic self. You have the self that comes from source directly. And all these different layers, and then we have all the cycles that happen within all of these spheres. You also have spheres around you that are influencing you a lot more than you realize, like the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, all of the planets, the stars, the galaxy. These are spheres as well, and they have their cycles. So in this class, I teach you all about quantum physics. It's very specific stuff, like, for example, the laws of the golden ratio, or the jewel at the heart of quantum physics. There's very specific things that you need to know about the structure of consciousness in our universe. And I walk you through all these different kinds of pieces. There's many, many parts. There's 6 classes. And I really pack it in with very high level mysticism and quantum physics. And then the last piece is an ebook. It's called Cultivating Non-Judgment, The Art of Psychic Lenses. And I teach you basically how to dismantle the lenses that we use to perceive the world. How do you dismantle them? How do you clarify your perception of reality so that you have better discernment and that you can cultivate non-judgment and compassion more deeply in your life? This ebook is very beautiful, and I made sure to pack it full of also wonderful practices. And so, as you can see, I'm a very practical teacher. I want things to be usable. I want you to have measurable results. I care as a scientist about how we act in the world and get those results. And I'm trying to set you up as much as I can with this package for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for the program. And yeah, I love every part of it and how you brought it together, and how every part can help in our awakening, partially. So it's like coming together that can really support us in our path. So yeah, thank you very much. And everyone, so I invite you to sign up for this program. And again, you can do that on the link, yourdivineuniqueness.com /Elizabeth, yourdivineuniqueness.com /Elizabeth, ELIZABETH. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page, the link on YouTube video description, and also on the chat boxes. And Gary, each class is long and generous too. Okay, and let's see. We have
My classes tend to be between 4 and 6 hours. So it's like it's a lot of data.
Yeah. So we have a phone number ending with 123. Can you please unmute yourself? Phone number ending with 123. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. What is your name?
My name is Kate. I'm calling from Virginia. Thank you for taking my call.
Hi, Kate.
I have a question. I am in between career change, and
Kate, I can't hear you very well. Can you speak into your speaker a little better?
Is this better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anyway, my question is for transitions. I'm moving from one 35-year career into a new career, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the right momentum yet. If I'm just like beginning a new career, it takes a lot of time to develop a momentum. But I feel like it's the most challenging thing I've ever done. And it's like the work I used to do was hard work in the therapeutic arts. And now I'm doing more of a talking job in a corporate environment. And it feels like such a challenge. So I was wondering if you had any pointers or if you could intuit any advice for me in this transition. And it's kind of an open-ended question, but I trust your intuition.
No, I love
this,
your question.
Okay?
This is a great question.
Okay.
Well, first off,
Thank you.
congratulations. Being brave and switching careers is huge. It takes so much bravery. So please pat yourself on the back. First and foremost, make sure you reward yourself for challenges overcome. Make sure. I don't care if it's a bag of M&Ms. That's how I got through statistics, was M&Ms. One problem at a time, and then I get it one M&M each time, right? So you got to reward yourself. Your body is a child of God, so you should treat her like that. You are not your body named Kate. You're a soul who's in charge of the body named Kate, right? And our bodies are very childlike. We do very well with reward. So be able to reward yourself, right? In a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, most of the time when people transition, we tend to fall into a trap of thinking where we believe we only have one brain. and you don't. You have 3 brains. So we don't get taught how to use the other 2 brains very much. And you're an empath. You can feel a lot. So your heart mind is very, very strong, but it's very overwhelming. And then your brain reacts to stuff. So the mind will try to come up with what to say and how to do things, and then you'll end up like, maybe you make a mistake or you sound totally awkward or something like that, and then your brain wants to relive it 1 trillion times to figure out just how awkward it was, right? So you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you got to drop into your heart space, right? And command your field. If you can command your field, then stuff's not going to hit you super fast in the same way, and your brain isn't going to go into this automatic mode of trying to figure all the pain and the suffering out and the pain points. So how do you do that? Well, you got to command the field. So you talk through the heart space and you say, so try it with me. You can say it silently if you want to, but you could repeat it if you like. And what we say is, dear heart, so you're talking to your other brain. You're the soul in charge, right? It's not this brain talking to your heart, it's your soul. And you're letting the voice of your soul speak through you. And we say, dear heart, please lift anything that doesn't belong to me out of my body and field now. And then you take a big deep breath. And you imagine when you breathe out, it's just blowing all this stuff out of your field, right? When you do that and you do it throughout your day at your new job, then you're actually making it so that you get a lot more clarity. And you're able to feel beyond the things that don't belong to you, beyond other people's feelings and all their stuff. And then your brain mind isn't in this weird reaction state where it's trying to figure out how to socially figure out every little tiny word and all of this stuff, because it's not in reaction anymore. So your brain will relax and you won't find yourself feeling so awkward. You'll find it is a lot easier because you're going to speak from your heart, and your mind can be more quiet. Your mind can just be relaxed and notice stuff that it couldn't before because it was in reaction mode. And then lastly, trust your gut. It doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter what they try to justify or convince you of or whatever. If your gut says no, then it's no. So you must listen to your gut. Your gut is there to help you survive. That's the brain that helps you survive. Our brain minds are good at logic and pros and cons and creation and imagination, and that's all. They're not meant to do everything. The heart mind is really good at assessing the quality of emotion and energy around you and giving you an opportunity to perceive stuff through feeling. And then also the heart actually acts from body memory. So your heart contains all your body's actual perfect memory, not your brain. Your brain is not the place where memory comes from, it's your heart. So if you start to command your heart field and stop letting the stickiness of the other people around you and the people you have to talk to end up distorting your field, because that's where the awkwardness is coming in. It's sticky. Other people's thoughts, their egos, their traumas are sticky, and it's distorting everything. And so then your brain doesn't know how to react socially, right? But if you're commanding all this stuff out of the way, you'll find yourself far more peaceful, way in less reaction, being able to make really great decisions from the gut, from the heart, from experience, from logic, and you're going to be better at discernment, and you'll rise in the ranks faster in your new job because your discernment will be highly treasured. You'll be able to help solve problems faster and see patterns other people couldn't see. And being able to do that is going to give you a leg up in your workspace, right? So that's how I would approach it from where you're at right now.
I love that. I love that so much. That is exactly what I needed to hear. You're spot on. That's amazing.
I'm so glad. I think it's so important for us to be able to embrace all 3 of our brains.
I love it. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I
You're
love
very
all of your
welcome, Kate.
work. I've been following your work for a while, and just keep up the good work. Bless you. So bless you.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. Much love, and yeah, thank you, Elizabeth, for the guidance.
My pleasure.
Not sure if you have maybe a few minutes left to take
Oh,
one more
sure.
question.
Damien's an old
Yes.
friend. Happy to speak to Damien.
Hi, Damien. Can you please unmute yourself?
Whoa,
Yes.
okay.
Hi, my friend.
Hi, Elizabeth. Yeah, as you know, I've been following you the last few years, and then recently I signed up for the natural law and the divine law. I think that graceful connections, and yeah, part of the show was taking calls from the audience, and what you did was anybody that wanted a brief reading, so I thought, I haven't asked that. Well, of course I don't appear, I'm not called that often, but is it possible to get a brief reading from you?
Oh, sure. We'll just see what shows up and what you
Sure.
need most right now.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know how I work as a psychic, everybody's psychic, right? But we tend to run our perception through cultural conditioning, through what we think we know, through our personalities, our egos, our attachments, right? And when we dismantle a lot of that, oftentimes a seer who's a higher level of psychic, they're still going to run what they see or perceive through what they think they know. And an oracle doesn't do that. So I drop everything I think I know and I ask on our friend Damien's behalf, source, show me what Damien really needs to know right now. Oh yeah, okay, I get thrown right out to the edge. All right, so Damien, you're right there. There's a little bit of a fear going on around this sense of expanse that you're very familiar with. It's amazing how our thoughts and knowledge and wisdom are so beautiful and so important, but then a lot of the times it tends to anchor us too much into the present space of being a Homo sapien who wants to know what the truth is. And there's this expanse beyond all that, which is the ultimate unknown, right? It's the great unknown. We call it the void. If you stare long enough at the void, it stares back, and it freaks men especially out. Women are a bit more comfortable with void, and I think it's simply just because we're more formless. I don't think it's necessarily individualized, but in this case, what I'm seeing is there's an expanse where you don't know anything, and where you don't have anything. You don't have anything. You don't have any structure. There's nothing to fall into. There's no floor. There's no ceiling. There's no knowledge. There's no wisdom. There's no frequency. There's nothing. And in this nothingness, that deep in the subconscious, there's a part of you that's really freaked out by this. and you've experienced this nothingness multiple times, where you've had illnesses or where you've had moments that certain events led up to experiencing this true sense of nothingness. But in the universe, there is always something, and you're right on the verge of seeing it for what it is and getting to know it in a beautiful way. You're basically almost done going through the experience of dying without dying, right? The ego death. And the last piece of you who's clinging on to the universe is the part of you who treasures knowledge. And so if you bow to him and you say, look, you stay here, you can have as much knowledge as you want. You stay here in the universe. I gotta go because I'm not from here, and I can't continue to keep thinking that I'm you. So you stay here. So you got to give him something to do. give him your favorite book and tell him to have a seat. And then go take the leap. Take the leap. Let yourself die. Go as the soul out to the void and see the light. Go see the light, because it looks dark from the inside. As you know, you've heard me describe it before. It looks dark when you're in the universe, because the universe is moving and it has to for it to exist. But what we perceive when we're in the universe is the what's outside the universe, what from where the universe arises, we perceive it as black or dark when it's not. That's an illusion. It looks black or dark only because it's not moving. And so when you take the leap, you go into perfect stillness. There's no more time, there's no more form, there's nothing to know, there's nothing to have, there's nothing to lose, there's no beginning, there's no end. And there's this certain quality of light. It's a light that is so bright that you can't really describe it. It's so clear that, and it moves. It doesn't move, so there's no source to the light. In the universe, light always has to have a source. And outside of it, the void, God, there is no source beyond that. So go hang out there and relinquish your desire to know. Let him do his thing. Love him as he is. But become that thing that is beyond him. And what you'll find, ironically, here's the carrot on the stick, right? Is the mysticism. What you'll find is that it blows open all of your access so that you have access to any knowledge you've ever wanted, psychically, intuitively, naturally, without having to read or without having to take classes or seek it or ask questions or anything like that. You'll still love everything that you know. You'll still love all your cool, amazing towers of books, which I love too. And all of that. But you're going to approach it differently. They're going to just be these wonderful treasures that simply represent a little teeny tiny drop of the ocean that you got a taste of. The ocean that is the infinite knowledge that never ends. Because that desire to know and the desire to understand the universe is actually what's holding you back from being awake, being totally awake all the time. And then you have access to all the knowledge you want if you're willing to take that leap. But most men are very afraid of, I find, doesn't matter the culture either. They're afraid of this expanse because they feel like they're going to lose everything that they've gained and all the knowledge and wisdom that they've worked so hard to gather, right? When actually the opposite is true. You get access to everything without having to actually work for it because it was there all along. And then you can see it all the time. So you're right there. If I could just push you into the void, I would. But you got to let go of your love of knowledge. Ironically, that's what's holding you back from knowing everything you really want to know. Does that make sense, what I've said?
It does. I've always studied the contemplative tradition, right? And the mystics do talk about that, the knowingness of unknowing, right? And that void. So yeah. So I guess meditation helps also to give oneself to it, right? Meditation can help taking that leap.
Here's a mantra. I was just given this mantra by my teacher, Dr. Peter Davis.
Mm-hmm.
He actually gave it to me, but also my boyfriend too. And it was a question around guilt, because I help people go through guilt, right? And I have my own guilt. And he says, oh, well, I have a quick fix for that. And this mantra actually speaks to the path that you're on. But the mantra is, I have no past and I have no future. And if you keep repeating that mantra, have no past and I have no future, what it does is it throws you into that state where you are like, your brain can't handle that, right? So you've overcome your mind suddenly with one mantra: I have no past and I have no future. And your brain's like, wait a minute, what? And it stops in its tracks. So your mind stops with that one mantra: I have no past, I have no future. Because there has been no beginning and there is no end. And it forces your awareness to be that immense, to be beyond time. So timelessness is the answer you're looking for. It's the path. It's the way to feeling the formless expanse and then embracing it so you can perceive it fully from a soul level. But it does actually affect the body, so you perceive it all the time. But try that mantra. Meditation's great, but it can be very hard to stop the mind, and that mantra stops your mind because your mind can't grasp that.
Mm. Mm.
Trick your mind.
Thanks, Elizabeth. That seems to have a chord there. It's you're meeting my need there. So
Okay.
you're responding. Thank you for the reading.
Oh, my pleasure, always, especially for you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Blessings.
I'm very blessed to have these wonderful, very wise, very, very high level masculine like you, Damien, around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Love you.
Yeah.
I love you too.
Thank you, Damien. And yeah, thank you, Elizabeth, for the guidance. And yeah, so thank you very much for the time you spent with us, for the support you offer to our audience, and everything you shared. It was really inspiring. I really loved the call today. So thank you.
It just went so fast too. It's almost
Yes.
2 hours and I didn't
Yeah,
feel like
almost 2
that.
hours. Yeah, beautiful. So yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. And everyone, thank you very much for being here with us today, sharing with us this space and time, your beautiful energies, whether on the live call or the replay. Thank you for the questions, the comments. So we didn't have time to do a reading for everybody, so maybe another time. And Mateja Shirot, thank you, Elizabeth. Great call. Dina, thank you so much. Lara, that helps me too. Thanks, Damien, for asking for a reading. Jane, thank you. Martha, excellent time together. Rachel, thank you both. Susan, thank you so much. Yeah, Carmen, thank you. Nicole, also thank you. Thank you, everyone. And so, yeah, thank you, Carrie. And everyone, again, you can, yeah, you can sign up for the program that Elizabeth is offering to us on the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Elizabeth, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Elizabeth, ELIZABETH. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live event page, later on the replay page, the link also on YouTube video description, and on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And yeah, thank you, Ma. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Yumna. And so yeah, that's everyone. I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye for now.